His heart stopped. For the next 6 minutes, this man was clinically dead. No pulse. No measurable brain activity. No sign that he would ever come back. Doctors did everything they could. But at that point, there was nothing left to do. And yet, that's not the most shocking part of this story. What he claims he experienced while he was dead should not be possible. Because according to his testimony, this wasn't a dream. It wasn't a hallucination. It was something far more real than anything he had ever experienced in his life. And what he saw changed him completely. It changed how he understood life, death, and what comes after. And here's the disturbing part. He's not the only one. All around the world, thousands of people have reported almost identical experiences. They describe a tunnel, a light, a presence, a place that many believe is heaven. But this case is different. This man wasn't religious. He didn't believe in the afterlife. In fact, his entire life was built on science. He was a doctor, a specialist, a man who had spent decades studying the human brain. To him, everything had an explanation. Everything had a cause. And experiences like this, he didn't believe in them. For years, he worked as a neurosurgeon. He operated on brains. He studied consciousness. He understood how thoughts are formed. And if there was one person who believed that near-death experiences were just illusions, it was him. In his mind, those stories people told about seeing heaven, they were nothing more than a dying brain trying to make sense of chaos. Chemical reactions, neural misfires, nothing supernatural. At least, that's what he thought. Until one morning, everything changed. It started with something small. A strange feeling, disorientation, a pain he couldn't explain. At first, it didn't seem serious. But within hours, his condition began to get worse. Fast. He was rushed to the hospital. But this time, not as a doctor. As a patient. Doctors ran tests, scans, blood work. And what they found was devastating. A rare and aggressive infection was attacking his brain. The part responsible for thought, awareness, consciousness, was shutting down. His condition worsened by the hour. And with every passing minute, his chances of survival dropped. Eventually, he fell into a deep coma. No response. No awareness. No sign that he was still there. To everyone around him, he was gone. But according to him, that's when everything began. Because while his body lay unconscious in a hospital bed, he claims he was somewhere else. A place beyond this world. At first, there was nothing. No sound. No light. No sensation. Just darkness. An endless, silent void. It wasn't painful. It wasn't peaceful. It was simply nothing. No thoughts. No sense of time. As if everything that made him who he was had disappeared. But then, something changed. In the distance, a light appeared. Faint at first. Almost impossible to see. But it was there. And slowly, it began to grow. Brighter. Warmer. And somehow, alive. He didn't walk toward it. He didn't decide to move. Something was pulling him. Gently, but with purpose. As if the light itself was calling him. And the closer he got, the more real everything became. The darkness began to fade. The silence disappeared. And in its place, there was something else. A feeling. Not fear. Not confusion. Something he couldn't explain. A deep sense of peace. A kind of peace that didn't feel human. Stronger than anything he had ever felt before. It wasn't just around him. It was inside him. Every part of him. And then, he realized something. He wasn't alone. There was a presence. Not something he could fully see, but something he could feel. Watching him. Not in a threatening way. Not judging. Just there. And somehow, he knew it was aware of him. Completely. As if it could see every moment of his life. Every thought. Every decision he had ever made. And yet, there was no fear. Only understanding. Only acceptance. And then, the light grew even stronger. So bright, it should have been blinding. But it wasn't. It didn't hurt. It felt welcoming. As if it was inviting him to come closer. And that's when everything changed again. Because suddenly, the void was gone. The darkness disappeared completely. And he found himself somewhere else. A place that didn't feel like Earth. There were no walls, no ceiling, no ground, as we understand it. And yet, he was there, surrounded by something impossible to describe. Colors that don't exist here. Shapes that didn't follow any logic. Everything felt alive and filled with a presence that he could not ignore. He tried to understand what he was seeing, tried to make sense of it. But nothing in his life had prepared him for this. This wasn't a dream. This wasn't imagination. It felt more real than reality itself. And then, he noticed something else. He wasn't afraid of dying anymore. That fear was gone. Completely. Replaced by something else. Something deeper. A feeling that this place was not the end, but the beginning of something far greater. And just when he thought he was starting to understand, something happened. Something that would change everything. Once again. And then, it appeared. Not suddenly. Not violently. But gently, as if it had always been there. The presence became clearer. More defined. He still couldn't fully see a face. There were no sharp features. No exact form. And yet, he knew. He wasn't guessing. He wasn't imagining. He knew. He was in front of something conscious. Something alive. Something far beyond human. And as it moved closer, the feeling grew stronger. Not fear. Not power. Something else. Love. A kind of love so overwhelming. It's almost impossible to describe. Not the kind of love we feel here. Not emotional. Not temporary. This was something pure. Something absolute. It felt like being completely understood. Without saying a single word. Like every mistake, every regret, every hidden thought was already known. And yet, nothing was judged. Nothing was rejected. Only accepted. Fully. Completely. And in that moment, he realized something that shook him to his core. This presence knew everything about him. Everything he had ever done. Everything he had ever thought. And still, it stayed. Still, it welcomed him. And then, without words, the message came. Not spoken. Not heard. But understood perfectly. As if it was placed directly into his mind. You are not here by accident. The words didn't echo. They didn't sound like a voice. But they were clear. More clear than anything he had ever heard before. And then, another message. Stronger this time. You are loved. Not in a simple way. Not like something people say. This felt absolute. Unquestionable. Like a truth that could not be denied. And in that moment, everything in his life made sense. All the confusion, all the doubts, all the fear, it all disappeared, replaced by one simple understanding. He had never been alone, not once. And then, something even more intense happened. It was as if his entire life was being shown to him. Not like watching a movie, not from the outside, but from within. Every moment, every decision, every action, he felt it all again. But not just from his perspective. From others. He felt the impact of everything he had ever done. The good and the bad. Moments he had forgotten. Words he didn't think mattered. Actions he thought were insignificant. They were all there, and they all had weight. Not in a way that punished him, but in a way that made him understand. Deeply, completely, and through all of it, the presence remained. Watching, guiding, allowing him to see what his life truly meant. And then, it gave him something he never expected. A choice. Stay or go back. There was no pressure, no demand, just a quiet understanding that the decision was his. And for a moment, he didn't hesitate, because everything there felt right. It felt like home, like he had finally reached a place he was always meant to be. But then, something changed. A realization, a memory, something pulling him back, something unfinished. And suddenly, the feeling shifted, because deep down, he knew his story wasn't over yet. And in that moment, he made a decision. He couldn't stay. Not yet. There was something unfinished. Something he still had to do. And as soon as that thought became clear, everything began to fade. The light, the presence, the feeling of peace, all of it started to disappear. Slowly at first, then faster, as if he was being pulled away, backwards, further and further from that place. The warmth vanished. The silence returned. And then, darkness, again. But this time, it didn't last, because suddenly, he felt something. A shock, a force, like being slammed back into something heavy, something physical, something real. His body, air rushed into his lungs. Pain hit him instantly, sharp, overwhelming, and just like that, he was back in the hospital bed, back in his body, back alive. Machines were beeping, voices were shouting, doctors moving around him, trying to understand what had just happened, because according to everything they knew, he shouldn't have come back. Not after that amount of time. Not after the condition his brain was in. And yet, he did. Slowly, he opened his eyes, confused, disoriented, but alive. And from the outside, it looked like a miracle. But for him, it was something else entirely. Because he remembered, not everything at once, but enough. Enough to know that what he experienced was real. Days passed, then weeks, and as he recovered, something became impossible to ignore. He was no longer the same person. The man who once believed that everything could be explained, no longer thought that way. The doctor who dismissed these experiences could no longer deny them, because now, he had lived it. He had seen something that changed him forever. He no longer feared death, not in the same way, because to him, death wasn't the end. It was something else, something beyond what we understand. And more importantly, he carried something with him, a message, simple but powerful, that we are not alone, that what we do matters, that every action, every word, every moment has meaning, and above all, that we are loved more deeply than we can possibly imagine. And maybe that's the part that stays with you, not the light, not the place, not even the experience itself, but the idea that if what he saw is true, then death is not something to fear, but something we were never meant to fully understand. What if this wasn't just a story? What if this is something that has happened to thousands of people all around the world? People from different countries, different cultures, different beliefs, and yet they all describe something strangely similar. The same light, the same feeling of peace, the same presence, the same message that we are not alone, and that this life is not the end. So the question is, how is that possible? How can so many people who have never met, who have never spoken to each other, experience the same thing? Is it just the brain trying to survive a final illusion before everything fades away? Or is it something more? Something we don't fully understand yet? Something beyond science, beyond logic, beyond everything we think we know? Because if even a small part of this is true, then it changes everything. The way we see life, the way we treat others, the way we face death. And maybe that's the reason stories like this exist. Not to prove anything, not to force belief, but to make us question, to make us stop and think. Because one day, every single one of us will face that moment. The moment when everything goes quiet. The moment when we don't know what comes next. And when that time comes, what will you believe? Will it be the end? Or the beginning of something else? Slight pause. If you made it this far, there's one thing I want to ask you. Do you believe this man? Yes or no? Final hook. And more importantly, what do you think happens after we die? Soft closing tone. Write your answer in the comments. I read every single one. Optional subscribe push. And if you enjoy stories like this, subscribe, because the next one might change the way you see reality even more.